against him and describes his petition as mere blockbuster with thrilling suspense, hide and seek. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Koladio Titoju and Asuko James. Journalist Hangout starts now. Training and capacity building for personnel are critical for effective governance. In this regard, the Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, has stressed the need for a collaboration with the National Institute of Security Studies to enhance the training and capacity development of paramilitary personnel under the ministry. Tunji-Ojo said it's essential to train core intelligence agencies, including the Department of State Services. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the program this evening. It's strange to see me here, right?
Yes.
It shocked me too.
It's not strange.
It would seem that Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo has been up and doing, since his appointment, particularly with what has been able to achieve with international passport in Nigeria. But what are your thoughts about this new development in the area of paramilitary training, Mikhail?
Yes, I think this is also in line with his resolve to improve things, and the ministry has been assigned. He has some paramilitary units under him. Migration, what was it called?
Prison.
Civil defense.
Civil defense,
the
prisons.
prisons.
Yes.
Correctional services.
So he knows that there's a need to improve those units. And one way by which that can be done is to achieve improvement in actionable intelligence, improvement in sourcing actionable intelligence. If, for example, we had actionable intelligence about the Kuje prison attack, for example, and we acted on the intelligence, we wouldn't have found ourselves in such a nasty situation with Boko Haram fighters freeing their colleagues, killing people in the process. So he knows that those paramilitary units under him must improve. And one area in which he believes that improvement can happen is through intelligence gathering. And that's why he believes that the Institute of Security Services, Security Studies, can be of tremendous help in training his men and women and improving their capacity. So I think this is in line with the pragmatic approach that he has adopted since he took over the reins as a Minister of Interior, and I believe that this is the way to go. I was listening to him saying, look, young people would be recruited into the fire service. And he said, look, fire service is not simply putting out fires. You are the first line that people will approach in the case of other accidents, whether it's fire disaster or building collapse and all that. There are many areas in which they can be of help. And they're saying, look, don't limit yourself to simply firefighting. And he has shown a desire to freshen up the fire service as well, bringing in young people. So I think he's right on the money.
When you talk about prison break, we've had an unprecedented number, so-called, in the past year, particularly in the previous administration. It's hard to tell if it's just an intel problem because in addition to that, some would say, are you sure that some people did not have that intel, or there are bad eggs in the system who are frustrating intelligence in that regard?
Well, it's a combination of both, because one, if for these studies, I think for part of what was discussed, during this meeting was to even preempt what might likely happen. So when the senior level officers go for such training, this capacity building trainings, they will have to teach them how to detect, to be proactive. Before it happens, they need to know. It can be maybe through body language, through clusters. There will be different ways, by which they can know. And I think that is one of the reasons why we usually have these prison breaks, because sometimes it happens and people will be asking how, why. Is it that they didn't know, But when they go for courses like this, they will be able to preempt. Indeed. They will be able to know and detect on time and nip it in the bud. And also don't forget that they can, when they go for capacity building, they can also become watchmen amongst themselves to know who might likely go off the line. Because if you are 10 in the room, there will definitely be one Judas, one way or the other. Whether we are 12, there will be one Judas in the room. So they would always look for loopholes or people who might not want to go in line with what the minister or what the service, is set out to do. Part of this, I feel, will also be bringing and sharing new innovative ideas, because I think most of our services are lacking in that line. And with the way the current minister, the interior minister, is going, you can see that it's bringing new, fresh ideas. You know that a younger person is in the saddle. You just said something about the passports. He said this must happen in so number of days, and people are already happy. He's even telling us now that
you can have them delivered at home.
It can be delivered at home. So we want the same thing, to be replicated in all the agencies or the security services that he is handling.
One challenge, though, that I foresee that the ministers will have is breaking that lethargy within the civil service. You saw what happened between the Minister of Works and his staff about resumption time and all of that. My mom retired from the prison service after about over 20 years, so I have the inner gist. It's not just about training them. This is a challenge that has been there for decades. Do you think anyone has the magic wand now?
Well, we have to start from somewhere. First and foremost, I'm not afraid to say it. In the civil service, we are carrying too much dead weight. People who have nothing to contribute. They are just there earning salaries. The bureaucracy in our country, at state level, at local government level, at federal level, is over-bloated. And we will never be able to achieve effectiveness and functionality without taking a look at the bureaucracy and probably right-sizing the bureaucracy. When we begin to do that, people will sit up. There are ministries where let me just say, there are offices where they have about 7 official cars and 15 drivers. What is the meaning of that? If they want to right-size the civil service, for example, labor will be up in arms and all that. It happened here in Lagos. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu reached his second term, but he made sure that he right-sized the civil service. And today, the civil service in Lagos is one of the most functional and in the whole country. So we have to try to change the psyche of those people. You can imagine the sense of entitlement of people who looked straight into the face of the Minister of Works and told him that, look, you must first tell us that we must not come late. You know that you cannot punish us for coming late because you did not warn us. And I'm like, during the military era, people lost their jobs for coming late.
And they've even adjusted the time to 9 a.m. We're not even talking about 8 a.m.
I mean, the sense of entitlement is funny.
Yes, now.
I was looking at it, what's going on? I also think that there are some ministers that they can't do that to.
Yes.
Yes. Who would go to great lengths to make sure that he had his way. When El-Rufai was Minister of FCT, for example, could anybody have confronted him in that way? Things have collapsed in our country.
No, they told him to his face that he can't do anything without them. And I think he's also trying to be political.
He tried to say, okay, you can't do. He was the one who said it first that you can't do without me. Then they started grumbling, sending a clear message to that, look, we can do without you. And then he said, okay, you can do without me. I mean, the whole thing was really, it was not a good view. That our country, you have no reason to come late to work. I mean, if they delay your salary, you are going to be up in arms. But you are coming to work when you like. A lot of them don't really do anything. This is the point.
Okay, we have to move on now. It just speaks to, you know, how bad things are and the magnitude of work that is in front of these new appointees. There is still much ado about the academic record of President Bola Tinubu as the heat is turning on those still casting doubt on the authenticity. And Igbo socio-political group, Omaligo Progressive Initiative, and the immediate past chairman of the governing board of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, Loretta Onochie, have tackled the presidential candidate of Labour Party in the 2023 elections, Peter Obi, over his comment about President Tinubu's Chicago State University certificate. While the global president of the group, Guinea Kator, described Obi's remarks at the press briefing as a national insult to Nigerians who freely voted for President Tinubu. Onochie said someone who failed as the governor of Anambra State can't criticize Mr. President. Let's hear from Tor. Get back to that statement from the federal commissioner representing Enugu State at the Federal Character Commission. Well, the thing for me is how this has now, you know, moved into an attack on personalities. My thinking is there's an issue here. Why not face the issue? Everyone who comes, you know, on my program wants to attack the person of who is speaking. I mean, is there sense in that, really?
Well, I was just really taken aback, you know, by the press conference, you know, the so-called World Press Conference by Mr. Obi yesterday, you know. In fact, when I got that intel that he will be doing a press conference, I was shocked. In my head, I was saying, this man doesn't even know what he's doing. You know, then I now said, okay, let me even give him
the biggest story on the paper.
But no, wait, let me even give him the benefit, or let me even listen to what he will say. And at the end of the day, the little that I heard, I was just like, oh, come on. It's as if he just wanted, he was like someone who was sitting somewhere, who was popular before, and he was sitting somewhere and said, people are not talking about me. Oh, yeah, what do I do? You know? And then he just decided to jump into the fray, and now he's in the newspapers. Because from all the things he said, it's obvious that he didn't even read that disposition at all. Something that everybody has discussed, and they have already agreed that Mr. President went to that school.
He said they should.
He still came back to
give us evidence,
you know,
about the universities.
Exactly.
He wasn't necessarily talking about
school.
Show us the
After they have told you, it's like it's someone that is, to me, that yes, he was like, they have told him that, oh, he didn't go to school. You know,
or what had always been in his head.
Or maybe they wrote that particular statement, speech, days ago. Before that, maybe immediately after Articles, or before Articles, then he now decided to just pick it up and decide to, because it didn't make any sense to me. And that is why Loretta took her time yesterday. If you need to go and see read Loretta's statement, or no, just statement, you know, it was like, is this man really, was this the same person they wanted to, you know, say we should vote for? There were so many things that was running through my head. And I was really, really disappointed yesterday. I was before, but even now, it really confirmed that, oh, God.
But does it baffle you that long after the election, they're still dragging Mr. President? Because one would have thought that by now, that elections are over, they have won the first leg of the case in court. Maybe attention would have drawn into something else.
You don't know them. You don't know them. They began dragging him before the election because clearly he was the man to beat. He was the front runner. No doubt about that. That was why it was easy for some of us to predict that, oh, he will win in this state, he will win in that state. We saw it coming. They had begun to attack him long before the election, even before the primaries of the APC. Once it became clear that he could contest, and it became clear that he would be the winner of the presidential primaries of the APC, they didn't leave him alone. You know, these people believe that the best they can do is to stop you. In the petition that Obi brought before the tribunal, there was nowhere he tried to prove that he won the election. All the game plan was get this man disqualified. Get him disqualified. That was their first strategy, their second strategy, their third strategy, their fourth, right up to the 10th strategy. Get him disqualified. And once that didn't work, they had nothing to say. Obi should produce the alternative result sheet indicating that he won the election. Not to just make wild allegations, oh, they stole my votes here, they took my votes away here. You that you don't even have with agents in many polling units, especially in northern Nigeria, how are you going to win? The bulk of the votes are there. Getting the votes of Christians here and there will not make you president. I mean, it's a waste of time.
Let me hold you for a minute. We have the soundbite now from Guinea Kator, who is Federal Commissioner of the Federal Character Commission.
A man who served 8 years as a governor, you don't know his state, should tell us his background educationally. Is that right?
No.
What am I trying to say here? It's an insult to Nigeria as a nation for you to call out our president, who was massively supported and elected and confirmed and validated as the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to come and stand before who? To say he's from this state, from this country, from this region, from the locality. Does he owe us that?
No.
What president owe us now is to take us to our destination of choice. So I'm disappointed in a man that I respect so much, my brother, who stood firm to run for the Igbos. It may not be turned now, but it could come in future. But whatever he does now is going to play out in future. So let us be cautioned, and let all Igbos not be misled by this press interview.
Yes.
You know, since this Bola Tinubu matter came up, every Nigerian who does not like the president has been behaving like a moral champion. Moral midgets are coming out of the woods to parade themselves, to form moral champions. And that is what baffles me. If you accuse Tinubu of forgery, even without a court affirmation, Abure, the national chairman of the suspended national chairman of Labour Party, Obi has been going after him like a caddy goes after a golfer. You would think that they are Siamese twins. If a case comes up in court, Obi wants people to see him behind Abure. Meanwhile, Abure and his ESCO members were accused of forgery, of forging even INEC papers, of forging withdrawal letters by candidates who won the primaries. The case was brought before an Abuja court. The court ordered the police to investigate. The preliminary report of the police found them culpable. Look at, there's a certain person from Ebonyi State that they actually forged his own, okay, I think it's Ezeoko. Mr. Ezeoko, whose name was submitted to the NRC, Ebonyi Guba candidate, alleged that without his consent and authorization, he was substituted with one Nkegwu Edward Okereke, who participated in the primary election of the APC and failed. They forged his withdrawal letter to make that happen. So Abure was suspended indefinitely by okay, that's even. Abure was suspended by the court. He has not been able to vacate that order, largely because of the findings of the police. Somebody that the police investigated along with his ESCO members and found them to be forgers, forging even INEC documents. Obi is following him like the shell follows a snail. He does not see anything wrong about that. But a man that the court has not proved that his CSU certificate is, CSU diploma is forged. He is already condemning that person and confirming that he actually was guilty of forgery. And you call what you call a press conference to talk about this. This is hypocrisy, elevated hypocrisy. Obi had a phone call with a pastor the other day where they wanted to turn our election into a religious battle. Obi, he knew in his heart that he actually had that conversation, no? Yet he was threatening the journalists who leaked it.
People gadgets.
Threatening them with court action. Yes. The people refused to withdraw, to apologize. Obi has not had the courage to go to court.
Yes.
I challenge him today, since you claimed initially that you didn't make that phone call. Sue that individual. Yes. Sue them. I challenge him. He should show that if you want to lead Nigeria, you have to be somebody who has courage. Yes. Show us that you have that courage in you. Go to court. It's just like Article 2 that Obasanjo wrote all of that thing that he wrote in his book. Article has not found the courage to take Obasanjo to court. Article 2 is doing like moral giant. This is about Nigeria. Oh, my loyalty is to Nigeria. Oh, loyalty to Nigeria. Where? It's not we that we know you. It's just that there are certain things that we choose not to say. Exactly. We know you very well. You cannot be forming a moral giant before us. That's
all right. Let's go to a short commercial break. Mr. Obi is asking that Mr. President comes out to, talk to Nigerians and give some clarification about the certificate.
We will not talk to Nigerians about it. It's a non-issue.
We'll take a commercial break and then we'll be back with more. Stay with us.
Heading home from work, in the busy traffic, your car breaks down. Car horns blast. Your car is pushed aside. You call for help. Phone battery blinks and dies. You take a cab. Few miles, tire bursts. What a day. Frustrated, sweating, and tired. Nearing home, darkness envelops the street. Wow! Just one house is bubbling with life. Brilliant lights, loud music, smiling wife, all welcome you.
We alone have light?
Yes, it's JRB Solar Energy Systems, my anniversary present to us.
No matter how dark life is, the sun is gonna shine on everything you do. JRB solar inverters, batteries, solar panels, solar street lights and more. Telephone 0906 752 1111. Email sales@jrbsolar.com. JRB, the sun is gonna shine on everything you do.
Vida Waika.
I'm your big fan too.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, brother.
And I'm chilling with my main guy, Vida.
Alpha, network problem.
Yes, well, got me.
Let me turn on my hotspot.
See?
When you're on 9 confirm from 9 Mobile, you get a super gift of 1,000 Naira just for joining the network. 900% bonus on every recharge. 100% data bonus for 6 months and double data bonus on your first recharge of the month.
Get a new SIM or dial star 1400 hash now.
9 Mobile.
Tap Joy. Unleash taste.
So everyone is jumping on President Tinubu's certificate story. The latest is from the Labour Party presidential candidate, Peter Obi. We're not likely going to hear from Kwankwaso on this one. He says, you know what, count me out of it. But
the Labour Party actually said that too. But somehow...
But yes, somehow.
Obi came out trying to...
They started by saying that they were focused on their case at the Supreme Court.
That was what they said initially. But you know that he's someone without a mind of his own.
Exactly.
Some people must have applied pressure on him. And now say, okay, let me talk about it. Obi, we've never had somebody who came third in an election drawing attention needlessly to himself like Peter Obi is doing. We've had elections in this country. You know? We've never had anyone. It's because he's enjoying the limelight.
Exactly.
He knows that once he pulls out, there's nothing on ground to show that he even wants to claim this mandate beyond the noise in the social media. No concrete plan on ground to show that, Obi, yeah, I'm the one who won this election, I want to claim it. Let them show us from the pleadings by their lawyers. What did you score? What was your score? State by state. Show us.
But
your alternative figures, show us. Because parties have what you call situation room.
Yes.
Now, and you have agents. What are the results that your agents present?
No, they have situation room. They had situation room on social media. So they are getting their own results.
Remember that issue when they were collating, when obedience were collating alternative results.
Exactly.
And the moment Ashwaju overtook Obi, they closed the portal and started abusing the person who began the collation in the first place. They knew that they didn't win the election.
The position there was that the numbers uploaded online, was different from the one that was counted, and one would have expected that they would provide that figure.
And where is the
because the thing is,
from ECA.
Yeah, because that is the form that the agents
of analyzing results in our country. The primary source
is the form
ECA. It is whatever they put on.
IREV
is also a product of ECA. It's actually from ECA that they snap and put there. Nobody should come and tell us where is. Bring those results. Let us see.
So even in court, what they would have done was also to produce the same thing.
The interesting dimension
is the primary evidence.
Yes,
is the primary evidence, and like the appeal court said, IREV is not a collation center. So where are the results?
The interesting dimension to this conversation, Asuko, is the fact that not many people have been able to sit down with the deposition to read through. So it's just the little bits of screen grabs that you see online.
Of course.
And perhaps Obi have also been able to carry along, his millions of supporters long after this.
Just like I told you, instead of Mr. Obi to do Mogbomoya and enter into the matter that is not his business, what you should just do is sit down, spend the whole day, sit down, and then begin to read one by one.
That thing is long.
No.
The position that took 5 hours.
That's what I'm saying. He will sit down, then he will ask somebody who understands the legality about it, and then they will be explaining to him. The whole day, at least, it's 5 hours.
Yes.
So 24 hours is not bad if he sits down, take a coffee, and he's reading it, and they're explaining.
No, not everybody can be that painstaking. Remember, all eyes on the judiciary. Everybody is sleeping.
He needs to sit down and listen to himself the more, rather than go on social media and then they are egging him on.
Nobody was governor for 8 years. You are telling him to come and introduce
So we don't want that.
To Nigeria.
He should act like a statesman, okay? Because so many people still believe in him. He should act like a statesman and don't overheat the polity. If he doesn't need to talk, let him sit down. And just like Loretta said, we don't want him to even retire. We want somebody
before we go,
that will be coming into election and making it,
Let me read what Loretta said, though. Go home, Peter. You will never be declared president of our great nation. Apart from the simple fact that you came a distant third, you don't deserve to lead our nation. Your temperament and disposition are not attributes needed to lead a diverse nation such as Nigeria. You can't even lead the Southeast. Under your nose, Southeast became a war zone. A once vibrant economy built on hard work destroyed. Shave your desperation. Your ambition is beyond what you deserve. It will never come to pass. You know, I don't believe in doomsday prophecy. But if Obi continues to behave
so this life that is,
and he continues his narrow worldview, vote of the Christians, you will never be president. You must be able to win. I've said something, people don't like it when I say it. Obi never won a single state dominated by Muslims. His best performance in that regard was in Kaduna. Kaduna has a Muslim majority. He scored 21% in Kaduna. You know, Kaduna also has a good Christian population. So he scored 21%. That's the best performance in the whole of the far north. Every other place.
But as a politician, maybe he's not doing quite badly, at least keeping himself in the news.
He needs to,
all of them need
keeping himself relevant. Or you see, it is not, Nefemi, I'm sorry to jump into your mouth.
Yes.
It is not an eternal thing. Whether he likes it or not, the issue of this election, I know that he wants to keep his base, the noisy base on social media. He wants to keep it. He desperately wants to keep it. He's a man who had never enjoyed this kind of limelight. Imagine a man who couldn't install a successor by himself. Because the person he put there, in my view, it was somebody who on his own wanted to be, and did they not fight just hours after?
Yes.
And after that, he came back, tried to bring someone else.
Yeah, tried to be removed him, but he couldn't.
He was defeated in his local government.
He couldn't.
Check it out. He was defeated in his local government when he tried to bring someone. Abga has been consistent. After he joined the PDP, Abga has been consistently defeating him. He has not had, even the last election, Abga still dominated the House of Assembly election, apart from winning the governorship. So he needs to embrace a worldview that is broader than we see him demonstrate. Otherwise, he will, Onoche's doomsday prophecy will come to pass. It's as simple as that. It's not a matter of hatred. They may think somebody will say, Babajide, we know that you hate Igbos. The fact that I do not agree that I will be won an election does not mean I hate Igbos. God forbid. No. Even as a young man, I had far more Igbo girlfriends. That's a fact.
That's a
yes.
That's an amazing.
But they gave you a chieftaincy title.
I'm the Okulo Randigbo from Enugu Aguleri, given to me by one of the most respected kings in Nigeria today, Eze Chukwemeka. So what are we talking about? That I do not agree that I will be won an election does not mean I hate Igbos. I'm just saying the truth, and I don't believe in deceiving myself. I can say things that will galvanize my Igbo friends, or even the obedient, that will make them start thinking, Abijide don't port to be obedient. But I will not say it. Abuse me as much as maybe it's only X where you can abuse me. If I like, I stay away from social media and leave you. I will remain here. As long as you can't kick me out of here, you can't button up my mouth. It's as simple as that.
No, I think that everyone is growing a thick skin against the council culture.
Election will soon come. 4 years always seems like a long time before.
Of course, you know.
4 years, under 4 years will be here.
Well, time will tell how Peter Obi will, whether or not that prophecy will come to pass. We'll be here to see, hopefully. Let's take it a notch higher. The tit-tat for over President Tinubu's academic record at the Chicago State University is still in top gear. The president has asked the Supreme Court now to dismiss the appeal by the candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the 2023 election, Atiku Abubakar, to nullify his electoral victory. In a 42-page brief of argument, he filed through his team of 17 lawyers comprising 10 senior advocates of Nigeria. President Tinubu urged the Apex Court to affirm the decision of the Court of Appeal, which dismissed the petition of Atiku against him. The president maintained that Atiku's petition is mere blockbuster with thrilling suspense, hide and seek. What a way to put it. I'm wondering who wrote that. But the interesting thing here is that we are going to have to wait to see whether or not the Supreme Court will be admitting this fresh evidence. I know there are conditions with which the Apex Court can make that decision. It's like this is not over yet, BQ.
Yes. Many things will be decided. From what we saw at the appeal court, otherwise known as Presidential Election Petitions Court. I've always known it to be appeal court. These people didn't do a solid work. If you are making the point that election was rigged in a place, you must bring someone who was physically present. You can't even bring a collation agent, a person physically present at that polling center. For most of the witnesses that they brought, a good number of them dismissed because they didn't do what they ought to do. When you are bringing someone who did not participate in the election, who was not present, it becomes hearsay. That's what the court said. It is hearsay. This was what we saw. And to prove that you are the winner of the election, you needed to show a lot more hard work. They were focused too much on drama. You brought journalists who attended the press conference. You said they should play video of the press conference where somebody made a promise. How is that related to you winning the election? How is that related to your performance on election day? That was a promise made before the election. You can't use that to argue that you won an election. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but this is commonsensical. You can't bring a video evidence that somebody made a promise that they will post on IREV to argue that you are the one who won. It shows the level of seriousness. And as far as Tinubu's lawyers are concerned, this is a pure abuse of court process. Atiku even trying to bring in fresh evidence is unparalleled when it comes to electoral matters. I've said it, I will see people who say, I'm a lawyer, this and that. They don't even want us to talk about points of law. And I always say, look, the law is written in English language, a language that we understand, by the grace of God. When it comes to electoral matters, you cannot compare electoral matters to civil matters. The electoral law does not envisage bringing fresh evidence before the Supreme Court. Evidence that you did not plead at the lower court. So this is a matter. It's just like we're telling them that, oh, you said that the candidate of APC was not the rightful winner of the primaries in their state, and you are from the PDP. It's a very predictable court matter because the court will rule that you are an interloper. Medusa. You are not in their party. Yes. Only somebody who contested the primaries has the locus to challenge the outcome. Look at when some people gathered themselves in Abuja and said that, oh, Ashwaji didn't score 25%, they should not swear him in. Individuals, so not people who took part in the election. We told them that it was a waste of time because the law states clearly that only the people contested the election against Ashwaji can file such an action. But lawyers will still take money from people and go and file frivolous matter just to waste the time of the judges. So this, I believe, just as the CGN said, this matter will be decided by what the law says.
What the law says.
It's not a matter of, I've seen one journalist saying that DSS is intimidating Supreme Court judges and all that. They did something similar by accusing Fashola of writing judgment.
They've not listed the...
So how do you even know which Supreme Court judge is handling the matter? They're very funny people, you know, just to intimidate those judges. And unfortunately, some of these posts on social media is getting to those judges, and they are really worried. Remember when Justice Okoro, when they were hearing that Naira redesign matter, he said they're abusing us on social media. What is the meaning of this?
Just a minute, because let me bring Asuko into this conversation. Just how distracted do you think all of this is for Mr. President? I'm looking at this now. He has 17 lawyers and 10 senior advocates of Nigeria. Is it safe to say that he is insulated against all of the emotional attachments that many have had with this case, and that he's not disturbed or distracted at all from his primary assignment?
From the body language, let me use that body language, of the Mr. President. He doesn't look like somebody who is bothered, because he knows that his lawyers have already done the homework and they've done it very well. From the judgment from the Court of Appeal, it's like the case has already been decided. Because one, if somebody says, like all the issues, the allegations against him, what the court will be looking for will be facts and figures. Did they even bring the figures to corroborate what they were alleging? You said, okay, fine, you won in Lagos, or you won in a particular state, and you can't bring evidence to prove. Because most of what they were doing was they were just trying to, just like they said, is like they were just trying to buy time and dramatize. Let Nigerians know that, oh, they are still existing. Like a particular...
The third court case are one of
social
media.
No, it's not. Like a particular, one of the presidential candidates that brought, what is it called? Plastic full of ballot papers, and everybody was saying, that is the end on social media. It's not about that. So if you bring those things, what are they? Another allegation was even about giving FCT special status, for crying out loud. They defend me.
That you must win.
That if you don't win FCT, then you can't be president.
Yes. No, that
means the FCT,
that was clear for everyone who was willing to see at the time. We just like to make a mountain out of it.
That is it. So it means that if you win FCT, then your other votes from other 36 states is useless.
Yes.
And I don't know, and some people
you can win 36 states. You can actually win 36 states.
And then still not be because you didn't win
yes.
FCT. And those same set of people who are pushing these things are people who went to school.
No, some senior lawyers, I mean.
That is what I'm telling you. They still went to school. And they will tell you that it is in the law.
Yes.
Where is it in the law?
They are trying to hoodwink us.
And then they were telling you it's because of the Anne that was there. You read
There's no country.
we read better grammar now.
Prior to this time, Mr. President had promised a government of national unity. Seeing the numbers, when you consider PDP, Labour Party, and NNPP, you will think that they stand a chance as stakeholders in the previous election if you put all of their figures together. But do you think Mr. President will still be willing to extend such olive branch after this case is done and dusted at the Supreme Court?
Before now, the president said that he's not interested in government of national unity. He said he
changed the competence
in government of national competence. So to imagine that he will bring in PDP, NNPP, all of them is a long shot. Man is too politically savvy to do that. To come and do what?
But when you consider the figures from the presidential election,
yes,
they stand a threat to APC if they decide to work together.
And they don't work together. Why couldn't they even PDP bring back all those 5 governors? You think it's easy?
You think it's easy?
People like, they don't even know how politics works. Look at, they are saying, Otom didn't deliver his state.
Yeah, to PDP.
It was a strategy for Tom himself to go to Labour, because PDP has always done well in Benue. They would have won Benue. But Otom went to Labour, making it difficult for PDP to win. And They couldn't resolve their differences. They may not, all of those governors may not have delivered their states, but they weakened the PDP. PDP fought Kwankwaso over a mere ESCO position in their party. They fought Kwankwaso, they let him leave. Kwankwaso left. You saw what happened. It's like PDP does not exist in Kano. Look at the votes. The votes that they scored in Kano is similar to what Jendo scored in Lagos. Yes. No, go and look at those votes. Asiwaju led Atiku in Kano with hundreds of thousands. I think about 400,000 or so. I don't have, it's over 300. It made it difficult for Atiku to catch him because the gap that he recorded, at the end of the day, when you even tally the Northwest votes, Asiwaju scored more votes than Atiku. Despite the fact that Atiku won 5 states to Asiwaju's, Atiku won, I think Asiwaju won only 2 states.
He won about 5.
Maybe 4 because NNPP won Kano. So he won 4. So despite the fact he won more states in the Northwest, we have 7 states. Despite the fact he won more states than Asiwaju. Asiwaju still scored more votes.
He didn't get higher
popular vote. Asiwaju trumped him in terms of the popular vote. And of course, the rest is history. This election was an election like no other. Asiwaju dominated the North Central.
The body language of Peter Obi from his last press conference would mean that maybe he's tilting a little to the side of Atiku when he answered the question of whether or not he was going to respond to his appeal. He said he will be on the side of anything that will better the nation.
That is his boss.
He's his boss now.
That's his boss now. He made him vice presidential candidate. That's still his highest achievement in politics. That's his boss. So it's understandable that he will go with Atiku. He probably would even have stepped down for Atiku, but he knows that
if he does
our brothers in the southeast, they will roast him. If he had his way, he would have stepped down for Atiku. But he knew that my brothers in the southeast, they would have roasted him. So he just decided to,
And he has already gone far in terms of campaigns and all that and popularity. So it would have been dangerous for him, honestly, because
they won't tried it. We must not come back home.
He won't even.
New now.
He won't even cross the bridge.
Maybe there's a sense to which all of these press conferences is a plus to the APC because it's taking attention away from President Tinubu's policy and.
See, let me the president is concentrating on governance.
The results may not be out now. They do read what the World Bank. They do read what. Those policies are good.
Yes, but it won't happen immediately.
Not immediately. People don't know some of what this man inherited, and because he is a president who came from from APC, the ruling party, there are certain things that you can't say.
That's right.
Okay, let me ask you: were you not, like the rest of us, led to believe that we had 33 billion in our foreign reserves? Until JP Morgan and others came to say, look, so they're even saying now that we don't have more than 3.3 billion. And we are not in position to defend the Naira. Because clearly we've been lied to.
Yeah.
What was discovered that we were actually owing some of those, what do they call it, JP Morgan and the rest of them. Until that audit of the CBN came, we didn't know that we were owing that kind of money. And it was not included in our debt stock. Nobody listed it as part of what Nigeria was owing. What do you collateralize loans with your foreign reserves? Where? It's part of why we are in this mess. But you don't expect us to come out and say, this is it. No. People don't know the extent of what we are in. They don't. And those who think that, let's always look for a quick fix. I just pity that what is a quick fix would not solve the problem.
Exactly. So we just have to be patient.
But to an extent, too, I think they have to speak up a little because
they have.
If Nigerians don't know what they're going through, it will be hard to.
The other day, the Minister of Finance said that there are some backlog
that they are
they
paid
needed to clear.
Yeah, and which are clear.
That is one reason. He didn't say it directly, but that's one reason they are not even supplying the forex market sufficiently because they need to clear.
Gentlemen,
maybe once they are through with that, then we will now see greater liquidity in terms of the foreign exchange.
We have to go now. So it's my show at the top of the hour, so I have to wrap up this show early because I'm the one anchoring it today.
Go and catch your breath.
Yes.
After a frenetic baptism of
and
fire.
then don't forget your tie.
No, I'm not wearing tie. I mean,
we don't believe in ties.
It is cool without the tie, so I will carry it over to the next show. BKO Asuko, thank you for joining us on the program. Or maybe you would thank me for joining you on the program, whichever way. That's it on Journalist Hangout today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode tonight at 11. Join us also on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. for Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We're on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Nifemi Oguntoye. I'm back at the top of the hour with Beyond 100 Days. Stay with us.
Following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV. Do you struggle with having an active and healthy lifestyle due to your busy schedule? Do you find it difficult to make it to the gym? You want to improve your overall health, but don't know where and how to start? Medical experts agree that walking, running, and jogging are amongst the best ways to stay fit and enjoy a great active and healthy lifestyle. What if there was a convenient and affordable way to improve your health, improve your mood, and lose weight right in your own home? Introducing the SportX Digital Compact Treadmill, the compact foldable treadmill that makes being active and losing weight fast and easy. Just unfold it and walk, jog, or run while you watch your favorite programs on TV. And when you're done, just fold it and store it away. Now that's convenience. The secret is its advanced design that houses a 1-horsepower motor that is twice the size of most treadmills, packed into a nice compact unit, powering every step you take. You get the SportX Digital Compact Treadmill System complete with a rugged commercial-grade ultra-durable traction belt, large LCD multifunctional display that displays speed, time, distance, calories, and has 12 different exercise programs, as well as a magnetic safety key for added security.
The SportX treadmill has really helped me get back in shape after childbirth. I love it because it's compact and can fit anywhere in the house. And when I'm done, I fold and put it away. Easy peasy.
This is the best piece of equipment for people like me who want to stay active without leaving the home. I simply unfold it and use it while I watch my favorite program on TV.
There is always more to a story than the screaming headline. The part of a story that is not told casts a shadow. It's like the part of an object that is not reached by light. On TVC News, I'm able to explore the many angles there are to a story, talking to stakeholders, asking the difficult questions, and digging for facts. I believe the viewers are able to make a better decision if they're well informed and understand not just a part, but the complete story. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Sometimes it's the story that calls. At other times, the people just want to be heard.
School, I need students, but I need teacher.
Can't continue like this.
Their voices re-echoing through time itself.
We haven't done anything. If the tide is high, everybody run for safety.
Their tears leave a sweet, sour taste for all their demands. A familiar call beckoning for change. In our world, no one expects a disaster to happen. But when it does, we'll be there to x-ray all sides, from the east to the west, north and south. Committee Forum will examine the oddities and challenges to economic development, as well as issues yearning for government intervention. Watch fresh episodes of Community Forum on Sundays by 9:30 p.m. only on TVC News.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
President Bola Tinubu has now appointed Ola Olukoyede as chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, as well as Mohammed Hama Joda as his secretary. According to presidential spokesperson Ajurin Galale, Mr. Olukoyede's appointment is for a renewable term of 4 years and subject to Senate confirmation. Ola Olukoyede is a lawyer with over 22 years of experience as a regulatory compliance consultant and specialist in fraud management as well as corporate intelligence. He previously served as Chief of Staff to Chairman AFCC between 2016 and 2018 and Secretary to the government, rather to the Commission, from 2018 to 2023. This appointment follows the resignation of suspended AFCC Chairman Abdurrashid Bawa. Thanks, everyone, for joining us on the program. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Join the conversation right now on X, formerly Twitter, using the hashtag Beyond 100 Days. Remember to tag at TVC News NG. We're keeping tabs on events and happenings in the polity. The office of the AFCC chairman is arguably the least coveted of appointments, given how the tenure of past 5 chairmen in the history of the commission ended. Since its establishment in 2003, during the administration of President Olusegun Obasanjo, every individual who has headed the anti-corruption agency left the establishment in a controversial way, usually with corruption allegations, the same corruption they were appointed to fight. The establishment of the commission and the appointment of Nuhu Ribadu as pioneer chairman of the agency in 2003 gave the impression that the Obasanjo administration had a strong conviction to rid the country of corruption and financial crimes. It was during his tenure that the former Inspector General of the police force, Tafa Balogun, was convicted, jailed, and made to return £150 million under a plea bargain. He was even promoted to the position of Assistant Inspector General of Police in April 2007. But 8 months later, Ribadu was shown the exit door, removed as AFCC chairman during the administration of President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua. He is now the NSA to President Tinubu, by the way. He was succeeded by Farida Waziri, who went after quite a number of former governors. 3 months after her appointment, the AFCC arrested Chief Bode George, a top politician here in Lagos. That was in August 2008. He was arraigned on a 163-count charge, after which he was found guilty and sentenced to jail for 30 months. But like her predecessors, in November 2011, President Jonathan sacked her, and she was replaced with Ibrahim Lamode. Waziri's appointment was reportedly terminated following an allegation the AFCC had been selective in its investigations. Let's talk about Mr. Lamode, who, having a smooth administration until when in 2015 the Senate alleged that $5 billion was missing in EFCC under his watch. That allegation was a huge one. The allegation was that he diverted £1 trillion of assets recovered by the anti-graft agency during his time as Director of Operations and later Chairman. In November 2015, President Buhari sacked him, replaced him with Ibrahim Magu, and Magu became chairman at the time. The expectations were high that the Buhari administration will fight corruption, and we also saw some unprecedented progress in that regard when in 3 years he recorded a total of 603 convictions. 603 Nigerians were on corruption charges. Over 500 billion naira was recovered, and for the first time in the history of the agency, judges and top military officers, including retired service chiefs, were prosecuted for corrupt enrichment. But his own controversial end as chairman of the agency came in July 2020. He was arrested by security operatives at the entrance of the Wuse 2 EFCC office in Abuja, and the following day he was suspended as EFCC chairman due to corruption allegations leveled against him. The last that we've seen that we've seen after him was Abdurrashid Bawa, who stepped into the shoes at the age of 40, the youngest EFCC chairman in the history of the agency. Like his predecessors, Bawa had his share of corruption allegations. In September 2020, the trained EFCC investigator was accused of selling seized properties in Port Harcourt. By November 2022, a federal high court in Abuja had ordered him to be remanded for contempt for the EFCC's non-compliance with the court order. His leadership at the agency followed his predecessor's footsteps when on Wednesday, 14th of June this year, President Tinubu suspended him indefinitely over alleged abuse of office. It was taken in by the DSS for investigation. And it's been an amazing story, but that did not quite end well for all the previous 5 chairmen. Let's talk about the new EFCC leadership under the Tinubu administration and the agency's leadership track record. I'm joined now by legal practitioners Bosun Oshifora and Libros Oshoma. Gentlemen, thank you for hearing all the story I had to tell. Let's begin with Mr. Oshifora. For those who believe in superstitions, there is enough reason to conclude that there is a curse accompanying the chairmanship of EFCC. Do you agree?
Somewhat, it's almost possible to believe so. And if you look at the trend, I mean, look at what you just reeled out to us. You could literally say that with every president comes a new EFCC chairman. And the way it works also is that with the new president, the succeeding EFCC chairman is almost taken out. And then the new president appoints a new one. That's literally what we have seen over time. So one tends to believe your position that there's some costs or there's some.
No, it's not my position, no, Mr. Oshifora.
well, what's forward? All right, but basically speaking, it's also understandable because if you look at the EFCC Act 2004, I mean, from the laws of federation, you see that it's very obvious. It says that the president shall appoint the EFCC chair, and other appointments also are subject to the president. And at the end of the day, they are confirmed by the Senate. But the person who holds the ace is actually the president. If you look at Section 3 of the same EFCC Act, it says that the chairman and members of the company, that they can be removed by the president. So as long as they are there at the instance of the president, it's a no-brainer that if you don't dance to the tune of whoever is the president, he has the liberty to take you out. And that's literally what we have seen. You may want to argue whichever way, but the trends are there and we have seen it happen over time. I mean, if you look at if you look at Bawa's case, we don't even know what became of him. We just saw a situation where certain accusations were levied against him. Since Ribadu up to Bawa, same pattern, same thing. They are taken out unceremoniously, and another person is appointed, and then life moves on. That's what we have seen with it. As for what they have done, I guess we'll get to that in the course of the day. But
indeed, we will. Let me hear Mr. Oshoma's point of view. You seem to have explored the political dimension, and I'll get back to you very shortly. But Mr. Oshoma, why have all the previous 5 chairmen suffered almost the same fate, particularly in the area of allegation of corruption?
Yeah, thank you, Nifemi. But I will not start this conversation without also first and foremost pointing out the requirements for appointing the chairman of EFCC. Section 2 of the EFCC Act says that he shall be either a serving or retired, government security personnel who is in the rank of Assistant Commissioner of Police or its equivalent, and who has served in such capacity in the last 15 years. I don't know if this current chairman that has just been appointed now meets that criteria. All we know is that he was a personal assistant to one of the chairman and then subsequently became secretary. I don't know if cumulatively, all of those years that he's been there, cumulatively we tally up to 15 years. That's one thing the government needs to consider there, because if you have a situation where the EFCC, ab initio, is an appointment of the chair, is running contrary to the provisions of the law, then certainly you are going to meet a booby trap in front. And then coming to the issue of why the chairman had consistently, fallen like the seeds that were planted on the rocky soil, it is very easy and simple. All of the accusation, apart from Ribadu, all the accusation against previous chairman, it's one and the same thing only. That has to do with proceeds of crime. Proceeds of crime. If you look at the EFCC Act, it empowers the agency to investigate, prosecute, determine prosecution, prosecute, confiscate, forfeit, and then manage assets forfeited. Where the banana peel has consistently been is assets forfeited. The EFCC chairman is accountable to nobody. And so all accusation has always come in the form of, oh, there were assets forfeited and the EFCC chairman cannot account for proceeds of those assets. Lamode, Farida Waziri, Lamode was about 5 billion. Magu were properties in Abuja and environs that were linked to him in the form of assets forfeited that were shadily sold. What do you call it? Bauer, the same thing. There were even a press conference addressed by some persons on assets in Port Harcourt that were forfeited and that they were sold, in questionable circumstances. So what we should be looking at is why even even the previous the current Attorney General during the screening also made recommendation that EFCC should be unbundled. Also, people had proposed the fact that EFCC should be unbundled. The powers of managing assets should be taken away from EFCC. So that is the what do you call it, the black pool that has consistently corrupted the chairman. So if you have a chairman who is confiscating assets and at the same time managing the asset, it has nothing to do with the powers of the president to remove. If there are no accusations against anybody, the president will not just sit down unilaterally, sack an EFCC chairman. Once the accusations become so right, like in the case of Magu, they were even a panel was set up to investigate. Even this one, also a panel was constituted to investigate. So I think what we should do is we begin to look at those powers and how, there can be a divorce, between, asset management, prosecution, and asset forfeiture. Because absolute power, we all know, corrupt, absolutely. And that is one of the bane of all previous EFCC chairman. And if care is not taken,
I hear you, Mr.
Shuma,
and I'm wondering if that in and of itself is not an indictment on the integrity of the men and women who have led that office. But you mentioned the legality of the new chairman, the EFCC chairman's work experience. We asked that question ourselves, and we got some legal interpretation that the provision of Section 2, Subsection 1 of the EFCC Act did not state the nature of experience that a person is required to possess. It's similar or alike for 15 years.
It did security.
Just a minute.
It said security.
Yes.
Not just experience. I have been taught about for close to 25 years. So you can't say now that my experience will cover that experience that Section 2 talks about. No, that section talks about experience in areas of security. And so we shouldn't gloss over it, because every office is founded on the provisions of the law. And the moment you get it wrong, ab initio, you are going to be reacting instead of being proactive.
We're probably going to get back to this. The interpretation we are getting from the legal representation from the presidency is that Mr. Olukoyede satisfied every legal requirement to be appointed as EFCC chairman. But let's focus on our conversation for now. Be sure that we'll return to that shortly. Mr. Oshifowora, is there a sense to which there are appointments also, because you spoke to the issue of political allegiance to Mr. President and his party, how do you work, for instance, as EFCC chairman, without paying attention to the no-go areas and also the untouchables, given the political circumstance with which you were appointed?
Well, by the provisions of the law and by the provisions, guiding the office, ideally the person is supposed to be neutral, is supposed to be dutiful, and is supposed to adhere to his calling and make sure that he discharges his duty without any fear or favor. But if you look at the trend, because it's one thing to be academic, it's another thing to actually look at what has happened. If you look at the trend, when Ribadu came on, it was, from certain quarters, certain persons, let me not say everybody, I say that with all sense of caution. Certain persons from certain quarters believe that the former president of Obasanjo actually used Ribadu to go after his political enemy. And we have seen that pan out with, successive heads of EFCC. And the same thing applied even up to the last person. So there's this thing, you can't divorce the head of the EFCC from the body language of the president. If the president says, this is how I'm going, and this is the anti-corruption agency, they definitely will kowtow whatever the president wants to do. So there's a tendency to now feel that this is the way these things are going, this person is dancing to the tune of the president, and different people will interpret it from different angles. So, but ideally, the person is supposed to be neutral, and when it comes to untouchables in the society, we have seen instances where the heads of EFCC attempted getting at some untouchables, and we saw the way they ended, saw the way they left unceremoniously. So that speaks to the fact that there are still certain persons that are covered in certain lights by certain persons in some quarters, which the heads may not be able to touch. And when they touch them, they may leave the office. So it's a very funny situation. And let's just hope that this time around things will change for the better. That's all I can say.
Well, counting on that, Mr. Oshoma, there's also the reality that as head of the anti-graft agency, you are probably fighting the powers that be. I know you talked about the fact that they have too much power, but does the office also, provide the powers and the protection they need under the law, if in any case they are being witch hunted?
Yeah, you find out that to a very large extent, they occupy office at the mercy of whoever the president is. And also, depending on the policies and body language of whoever the president is, that also will determine the zeal and the strength to fight, and then touch the untouchables. But like my colleague had said, ordinarily being